Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 393 at scavengerlife.com.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
The first episode we've done since we've been back from New York City.
Yes.
From a holiday.
Yes.
I do want to recap that. So, again, another successful vacation for us.
Yeah.
While still sitting on eBay. We sold over 100 items when we were gone.
It was 100.
Almost 2 weeks.
Yep.
We actually sold over, $3.5 thousand worth of stuff.
$3.5
$1,000, $3,500 just in that 1 week. I mean, in that final week we were there.
Yeah.
It seems like all of our holiday sales came kind of all in that 1 week, you know.
Right. Even though we couldn't ship for Christmas, people didn't seem to care.
This week's numbers is significantly less than that. So, we don't get too high off of that number. Only one buyer asked to cancel their item while we were gone.
Right.
I was really surprised. I thought, especially during the holidays, that when we messaged people that purchased to remind them of our long handling time, I just thought for sure people would be like, oh, I need this right now. Nope.
No, not really.
All good.
And it's funny, some people were buying like Christmas themed things, but I think maybe they were buying those things for next year. Like they're like, oh, I need to buy this. Like someone bought a Christmas mug like the day before Christmas, and you're like, well, clearly you're not going to get this in time anyway. But, for me, I'm like, oh, they had a set, it broke. They're like, I need to buy this for next year. So, stuff like that.
Yeah, so we just don't even hear from people, but we'd remind them just in case. Or we would get people who would say, hey, have a good holiday.
No problem, yeah.
We shipped home 6 big boxes of stuff.
It was 8 boxes.
Excuse me.
Just FYI.
Excuse me. 8 boxes of stuff.
Yeah.
And these were big boxes, 2 boxes. And again, I love it. And we're like, oh, and we need some boxes and peanuts. Okay, well, let's go take a walk. And we would be like, oh, there's a nice box. There's some peanuts just on the streets.
Oh, my God. The best packing material.
In the trash. And the 6 boxes were full of either street finds.
8 boxes.
8 boxes. Oh, my God.
I packed them, so yeah, it was 8.
8 boxes, either street finds, clothes, books, a lamp.
Yes.
Or we also bought a lot of homeware stuff at the West Elm in Manhattan. They have like a
clearance section. So anytime like curtains are on clearance, or we bought a couple lamps or whatever, light fixtures, we're like, yeah, I'll ship that home for cheapish.
So a week ago, we published the talk I had with Troy.
Yes.
AKA TSAT.
It was a very motivational talk.
It was definitely all about the numbers.
I thought you guys were going to like strictly talk about numbers. Then I listened to it, obviously, and I was like, oh, they're not talking about that at all.
It was, I guess, because we'd been talking on the forum, there are several people who are going full-time eBay.
Yeah. And
the whole point is like doing your numbers in order to feel comfortable to actually run your own business.
Right. To prepare for it.
And then, of course, I don't know, it becomes motivational because...
Well, it's motivational because that's the whole point of, why you want to do it. You have to be motivated to be a self-starter, to be independent. So you can't just be like, yeah, I don't really know why I want to do this. And
especially if you're an adult, especially an older adult, and you've only known working for someone else where you have a paycheck that just comes every 2 weeks, automatically put into your bank account, that can be a very scary thing when like that check's not going to be there.
Yeah.
Like what,
Right.
So, but it is interesting, we were having the conversation of, these days, having a 9-to-5 job where you walk away from it at 5:00 is a rare thing.
Right.
I'm thinking maybe only a minimum wage of workers do that. And even then they get called in to work extra shifts. But for most people that have like a job where they just get paid a set amount.
Right.
And they're supposed to work 40 hours, but really they just own you. And so people were talking about on the forum where like, even though they haven't had a job for a couple of years because now they're working for themselves, they say when they hear their phone, they just get that immediate like, oh no.
Like if their phone rings,
it's my job.
They're like, yeah, right. So it's interesting because people talk about when you're an independent person, and I talk about this because I feel like this sometimes, you feel like you never stop working because there's always an opportunity to do something even when you're at home. It's not like you're like, I'm not at my job anymore. But I feel like traditional jobs are like that now where, it doesn't matter what time of day. It doesn't matter if you're on vacation. If you have responsibilities at your job, and that's why a lot of people leave their jobs, because of that level of responsibility with email, text, video chat.
Especially nowadays when people have cell phones and jobs give you a cell phone.
Right.
And you're
Expect you to be on
like,
call.
I get this free cell phone. You're like, no, that cell phone's not a good thing. It's a leash.
I remember one of my first job interviews for doing like video production was being basically an intern. It was paid though. They wouldn't tell me how much I was going to get paid though. That's part of the reason I didn't take the job. But they were like, you possibly could be on call all the time. Like if you have to pick up a producer's dry cleaning or pick them up on a shoot. And I was just like, I was in shock. I mean, it was what you have to do in production to like climb up the ladder or whatever. But I was like, yeah, no. I like ran away so fast. But it was funny. They said it up front, they're like, oh, we're going to call you all times of the day. I'm like, no way. Yeah. Horrible. That's awful.
And again, I really hate to, I don't want to make it seem like working for somebody else or just having a job is like necessarily always a bad thing.
It's not always like
again,
that.
I have to remember, many people enjoy their jobs.
Right. And they don't have jobs like that.
They're trained. They love the challenge. They love the responsibility. They love the mission of what they do. They love the camaraderie and teamwork. And that's awesome. I just know for a lot of us, that was not the experience. Right. And so, that's what makes America great. Entrepreneurship.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, when we were in It's New York too, I remember, I think I mentioned this, how I found a couple of big boxes of books. And one of them was like a 40-pound box.
It was so heavy. I don't know how you brought it.
That I carried like half a mile, which again, it's not that big of a deal. But I'm not that big of a guy, so I carried it half a mile on my shoulder, head, all the way back to where we were staying. And it reminds me of a lot of times when we're scavenging and finding something. I get that scavenger high.
Like there could be something very valuable in here.
When I find cool items. Like it gets me excited enough to solve the puzzle of getting it home by either carrying a heavy load, figuring out how to load it onto our truck in a weird way with straps, or being willing to go somewhere like hours away to pick something up and bring it back. Because I'm just so motivated by like, we found something valuable for not a lot of money.
Yeah. And it's interesting about those books too, because we put some back out on the curb for people. We were like, some of these are just junk. But there were some books in there that were like signed by high-end like fashion designer people where you're like, who gave this away?
It looked like a woman that probably worked at or someone that worked at like a fashion magazine or something.
And they got like samples or...
and got all the books before they came out, and they were the limited ones, and then they were just like,
they're like 10 years old, so they're like, whatever.
This cool, a European fashion magazine.
Just bizarre.
A glossy kind.
Yeah, so those are... Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, let's talk about eBay. A couple things. So, Ryan, eBay unpaid item assistant.
Right.
We have that turned on now, right?
I still can't figure out how to do it on 2 days.
But do you have it turned on?
Yes.
Okay. So, and Ryan and I, look, now that we are doing same day, we ship the same day.
Yeah.
So that's our handling time.
Yeah.
It still only says 2 days. I mean,
4 days. 4 days.
Other people had sent a screenshot where it showed them 2 days. So
I saw someone mention something on the forum, and I forget what it was. They were like, if you change this setting, I forget what the setting was, then you'll have the option to open it in 2 days. I don't know what that setting is. People keep emailing me, I have it on 2 days. Look, you can do it. I'm like, I'm telling you, I can't. Like, I would. Yeah. They're sending me screenshots, and I'm like, right, mine doesn't look like that.
So, but ultimately, it's not that big of a deal. Even if it was just 4 days forever, it is not... I mean, tell me, is it a cool thing? Because
I'll be honest, I can't wait 4 days. Okay. I'm opening unpaid item cases after 2 days. I find it incredibly obnoxious that people don't pay.
Right.
And so the good thing about unpaid item assistant is once I request my final value fee, it automatically relists that item, which is very helpful because it was a pain before because you would request the fee and it would go to this weird blank page where it's like, okay, you requested it. And you're like, why aren't you giving me a relist link right there? Right. Now relist your item. So it would be annoying. You'd have to like look it up, find it, relist it.
If it was 2 days, is it going to be exciting to you? Because,
yeah.
Okay.
I want it to be 2 days because then I truly don't think about it.
Right.
Yeah, we have like 3 unpaid items right now, and they're really annoying because you take an offer, you're like, great, I'll do a lower offer, no problem. You hear nothing from somebody. I mean, I think I did wait 4 days for these ones, and you're just like, why did you send me an offer? It's annoying. So it's like $100 worth of stuff.
Insulting to you.
Yes, it's personally insulting to me. I think it's annoying. Yeah. Because it's my whole thing where I'm like, dudes, I'm just trying to make a living here. And you're just like, whatever, I just won't. Yeah. I have their email address. I have their home address. And you're like, it's not like you're anonymous. It's not like you're an anonymous person. It's just like, it's awful.
Yeah, but this is
really annoying.
One of those examples that it might just be better just to like allow the item assistant, even after 4 days, just to deal with it. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, I know it really hurts when, especially they're expensive items, but a lot of them are just like people make a $20 offer.
$30 offer.
It's really not a big deal. I mean,
it's just on some of those items, you're like, oh, good, I'm so psyched to get that out of my inventory. Nope.
But don't let those people rent space in your head.
Sure.
Tax season.
Oh, God.
So I'm sure many people are like, what? It's like January 6th. Like, I'm not going to even think about that until like March. Well, we're thinking about it. Yeah. And we thought about it even over the holidays.
Yep.
And we did our taxes. Ryan did our taxes.
Well, I didn't do our taxes. I did our numbers to give to our accountant.
Right.
It feels like I did our taxes. But, and one of the reasons we do it is ultimately to find out how much we might owe. We actually didn't pay quarterly this year because we have a renovation and it's really hard to be like, here, let's take a couple thousand out and just pay taxes. So we're probably going to owe something, but...
Oh, we're definitely going to owe
Yeah, we're going to owe something, right.
It's just how much going to be. So, I mean, either way, even when we do pay our quarterly taxes, we like to know early in the year, just so we know where we're at.
So you stash that money away to pay it, you know, ultimately.
Yep. And and we, unlike, you know, we don't just give our accountant like just a big shoebox full of receipts. We basically do our numbers for him. I do a spreadsheet and I'm like, these are my expenses for this business. This is how much I made. This is, you know. And like we've always talked about, I know a lot of people will write in and say, well, just do it with Quicken Pro or whatever, those Intuit or something, and just do your own taxes online. Taxes. We like to have a qualified professional set of eyes who understands taxes to look at the numbers we do and to plug them in himself or herself. Yeah. So, and they know what's a red flag, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. Yeah. Our accountant says, oh, well, if we do this, you'll get more expenses. So it's all good. Right. It helps us to know that we're doing it right. Now, the question is, and this will be a question for our accountant, because of the new tax reform rules, can we take a straight 20% off our gross? Yeah, that's going to be, we talked about that. If that's true, that is quite amazing. I mean, I wasn't a fan of the tax bill, but, when it came out, we were talking on a forum, and I mean, I don't know if that's true, but that's what it sounded like. If you are running your business through an LLC or general partnership, pass through a sole proprietorship, anything like that, supposedly you can just write off 20% off the top, off the gross, which would be huge. That would be incredibly helpful. So we meet with our accountant tomorrow, actually, on Monday, and we'll see what he says. Yep. Fun times. And something we did for the beginning of the year, we actually printed out. We have several mortgages on a rental property. Yep. and we printed out our amateurization schedule.
That's such a weird word.
Amateurization.
Amateurization.
And it's now on our refrigerator. I'm looking at it right now.
All of them.
It shows you all the payments to, over the next 25 years or so.
Oh my God.
It shows you how much you pay each month in interest.
It's horrifying. You want to pay that off so fast. Because look, on the last page, it's like, over X amount of years, this is how much you'll pay in interest on what you borrowed. And you're like, what?
It's like,
That's
almost
insane.
Like you're paying twice as much.
It's like
on
you're
the
buying
building.
another building. So
and it's interesting. So you didn't know that the banks did that thing where you pay almost all interest in the beginning of the loan. And then over time, you're then paying more principal.
I guess I did know
maybe
that.
You didn't want to.
I think I didn't want to remember. Honestly, I think I didn't want to remember. And then you printed it out, and I was like, oh my God, this is horrifying.
Right.
Well, and for our taxes, I calculated how much mortgage interest we paid last year. And obviously, if you keep buying property, you're like, well, there's a lot of mortgage interest every year. That's crazy.
Yep. Yeah, we own 5 buildings, including our house.
Yeah.
And we own 2 of them outright. So we have 3.
We own 2 of them outright. That's correct.
Yeah.
We paid cash for 2 of them.
Yep.
Oh, God, paying cash is the best.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah. So.
But it's not always possible.
So we always struggle between, do we use our profits to keep expanding?
Right.
Or do we use our profits just to pay down where we're at and kind of just get us settled in? And so far we keep
expanding.
We keep having fun growing.
Yeah.
So we'll see. That's what this time of year is about.
Just thinking about those things.
Okay, let's talk about our numbers for this week on eBay. eBay.com. International selling marketplace.
Are you doing an advertisement for eBay? Since 1996.
That's
What
right.
year were they?
Okay, so this week we sold 58 items.
How many?
58.
It felt like that.
And you're like, that's a lot of items. And we made
Hashtag low selling price.
And we made $1,800.
Oh my God, wow, $1,800 is not bad.
Average price was about $30.
Okay, that feels right.
$30.14.
I've been having something in my head lately. I don't know if this relates to this week, but kind of. Where I'm like, I know this is crazy, but we have such high inventory. We have 8,100 items. And I'm like, should we just take every single offer that comes in? Because, no, I know the answer is no. Yeah. But I'm like, it's volume versus like quality or whatever, quality of prices. But there's some things where I'm like, should I just sell it? It doesn't matter. I don't know. I guess the answer is no.
I think that's the reason why our model works, is everything's a case-by-case basis. And I feel that we really get so much of our inventory so cheap that we make so much money per item.
But that's why I'm asking that question.
Well,
like the inventory is so cheap, you're like...
But that's why you hear people talk about like they put a 50% sale on their entire store and they sell a whole lot. But, then you just start getting into the, if you're making $15 an item. I don't know. But then we built up a large inventory over time. If you were to burn through that inventory and make a lot of quick cash, then you're back to having a small inventory and then you're having to do all the work. I don't know.
That's interesting.
I think we often take low offers. We consider low offers because we're just trying to move stuff. But
I guess it also comes down to like it feeling like a grind where you're like, this sold for $15. This also sold for $15. This sold for $20. And you're like, just nothing feels like super valuable.
Well, some weeks are definitely that way. But we talk about the two. Sometimes we're like, I can't believe this sold for $20.
Right.
When it was at the bottom of a box and this was the junk.
Well, there's one thing that sold this week that was in one of my ephemera boxes. It's this little cross-stitch pamphlet. It's like a Care Bears cross. I have had that for years. I see it every time I'm in there and I'm just like... I remember thinking the other day, should I just get rid of half this stuff? Nobody cares about it. And then that little cross-stitch booklet thing. So for $25 this week. Yep. And you're like, well, I mean, that's who I was waiting for.
When we came back from the holidays and I was helping you pull all this stuff we, sold, we have like a bin called random miscellaneous. Oh, God. It's just like the most random
You're like, stuff. I don't even know what to call any of this stuff. It's all
just stuff we just find in the bottom of boxes, basically for free.
Right.
And I was trying to find something I'm going through. I'm just like, why do we even have this stuff?
Right.
Like, let's just get rid of it. And then at the bottom, I pick up the thing that sold, and I'm like, this sold for $25?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it took a while, but I'm like, okay, so this stuff does eventually sell.
Well, what's so funny about I have a bunch of ephemera boxes, but one of them, I look in there and I'm like, why do I have this stuff? Whatever. And I'm like, I'm always in this bin. And that's because stuff sells in here. I am always looking through this bin for the item that sold.
Right.
And that's your answer. There's some bins where I'm like, I haven't gone through that in a little while, But when you're going through bins and you're like, this bin's such a pain. What is all this stuff? And you're like, well, it's stuff that's going to sell.
I mean, I think that we have, I hear people talk about where they get their inventory. And there are people who are like, they have their spots. They go to the bins, the Goodwill bins. They go to the thrift stores and they have their circuit. And they're like, I basically pay $5 for every item, for every shirt or something. And they're willing to put money out, and the cost of goods sold is important for them to keep track of.
Right.
I think we have a lot more in common with like a Martin from garbagefinds.com,
Yeah.
Where I love his blog,
where
he goes, he just shows pictures, he gets everything out of the garbage.
For free.
And he just shows all this amazing stuff. I feel like we have more in common with him. I feel like we get more of our stuff for much cheaper. And so that's why we have that long tail store.
Right. It's very long. It's the longest tail you could think of, honestly.
And it's a kind of inventory where if you don't forget about it, you start to stress about why do we have this?
Right.
It's literal junk, you know. But if you forget about it, then you just get a surprise when things sell.
Like
and I know some people just could not fathom that mindset to run a business.
It's almost, and this is like a weird concept. It almost isn't retail.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you define retail as like Walmart or Amazon or people who sell in that manner, that is not us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's such a weird concept. You're like, I'm selling stuff to people, but in such a different, weird, unique, bizarre way, but it works.
But then,
it works for us.
But then we do have a lot in common with people who do go to auctions and they buy. I mean, we do pay for things as well. So,
of course, it's a little bit of both.
It's definitely a mix. I mean, like when we were, like when we had that really good week when we were away, where we made $3,800 or something. Right. Our average selling price was $60 because we were selling a lot of expensive
some higher stuff. Yeah, although some of those things are getting returned.
We'll talk about that in a second.
So, what stuff did we sell that we're like, I cannot believe this sold? What is this?
Well, we sold some good things. We sold like a bunch of. So we're talking about what we sold.
This week.
We sold a bunch of flatware.
Flatware. Look, I sold flatware. Just sometimes flatware is popular. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes
and the way we do it, we buy it normally at auctions, and you'll buy a big thing of flatware, like 150 pieces. And the way we do it is like at replacements.com we'll do it where we split it up, all the forks, the knives, all that stuff.
I split it up,
because it's more likely to find people trying to find replacements for a set.
I don't always do that. Sometimes I will sell an entire set.
But if you do split it up, then you have more options. People can buy them by pieces, or they can just buy the whole lot. Thing. And that's what the person did.
Somebody did
They bought 5 different lots of stuff.
To build a set.
Yeah.
I actually took a really low offer on those because I was sitting at my computer and I saw all these offers come in at once at like the forks, the knives, the bigger forks, the spoons. And I was like, you know what? This is a big sale for if I do it for all of them. It was $30 per set of like 5.
And you had it up for $80 per set. So
right. So
you gave these people a crazy offer.
But it's one of those things where I just put a really high price on it because they're from Finland. It's like, Scandinavian modern.
Yep.
But I was like, this person clearly is my target audience. I'm about to make $150 on a handful of flatware that is just sitting in a bin.
Right.
I'm like, yes.
It's all about who's hungrier.
Right.
You happen to be hungrier.
I'm hungrier.
But that's, again, a good example of our model. Put a high price on it, put a make offer, and then it's like a reverse auction. We then have the power to either counter offer because we're not hungry enough to take a low offer, or we're like, let's just sell it and go for it.
It's tough though, because like I bet that person was very determined to get those, and if I countered at like 50, but I was like, am I willing to lose this like big bulk sale over that much? I'm not sure.
I mean, just not to make this too long, but like a couple of the random weird things we sold was like this vintage ashtray with this college name on it from Pittsburgh.
They haven't paid yet, but okay.
Okay, but it sold for $22.
Right, and so that's one of those things where it is ceramic. It's another piece of our ceramic museum.
Right. Where it probably didn't cost us anything.
And it was one of those things that we almost threw away, where you're like, this is just garbage. But I'm like, no, actually, I bet someone from, back then.
But that is a good example, I agree, of like, it's $22. It's not a big deal. But you're like, I want this gone. Like, please take this away.
Pay for this.
So, and then we just sold a lot of shirts and just random
sweaters,
random stuff. Yep. Okay, so scavenge of the week. So since we've been back, we haven't really gone out to buy anything.
No.
But our coffee maker broke. And we've talked about it before. We have a super automatic coffee maker. And we've talked about it, it's before. It's it's not the pods. It's a kind where you pour in beans and you go and you just push a button and it makes you a delicious coffee.
It doesn't do the milk.
Right.
You steam the milk yourself if you want it.
It's a whole different world that we discovered because we bought it from some people on Craigslist.
For $100.
It's transformed our lives.
I mean, that sounds ridiculous, but it's true.
But if you just Google, because I didn't know that these existed, but you Google super automatic. And anyway, the one we had, we fixed it a couple times and it finally conked out.
Well, look, I was like, I think I can buy a piece for this. And I was like, I'm so tired of fixing. This machine's probably 10 years old.
Right.
And someone owned it before us. So we're like.
And we put it through the paces, 6 cups of coffee a day.
We
between
really
the two of
use
us.
it.
Anyway, so we scavenge. We did the research
all week. We did the research.
I looked at the different. I mean, these are fancy brands. Like, who are these people? Like, it's a whole other world. It's kind of exciting when you get into it. But I found the one I wanted, or that we agreed on.
And we actually saw it at Williams Sonoma a couple of years ago.
Right. And you can easily pay $1,000 to $2,000 for these things,
which is crazy.
And then you just go on. It's Craigslist, and I found one that was going for auction, and we put a snipe on it, and we bought it for $350
on eBay. You said Craigslist.
eBay, yeah.
We did find one on Craigslist, and we messaged the guy, and he was like, "It's sold already." Right. And we were like, "No!"
So we bought it for $350, and so that was a good. It's not a scavenge that will sell it, but it's a scavenge.
Look, $350 for a coffee machine
that's a
big expense for us, but. Let's say this machine probably costs $900 new, so $600 off. The cool thing is we bought it from a fellow seller. That's good. You pay someone else money. That's cool. I had some eBay bucks. I had like 30 eBay bucks, so that helped a little bit. And the other thing too is, people, I take it for granted sometimes, we were in New York for 2 weeks. You can get the most beautiful, delicious, gorgeous coffee just around the corner or wherever. Like, you're just like, oh, let's grab a coffee. And you're like, this is the best coffee ever. It's so good. We don't have anything like that where we live. And we are like coffee freaks.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a good, it's a luxury for us. It's exciting, but even our luxuries, as we like to save. Okay, customer issues. So this is where our good week a couple weeks ago starts getting painful. So I wonder if other people are having this thing where, people buy a lot of stuff for the holidays and then you get returns. Mm-hmm. So we got several returns of some of the most expensive items we sold. One was we sold a Burberry trench coat.
For $300.
He just said it didn't fit. It's coming back to us. So that's $300. A guy bought a pair of Ferragamo shoes.
$125.
And he said that they were more warm than in the photos. So that's coming back. Oh my God, that's so painful.
So that's so much money.
So that's over $400. And then this isn't a return, but it's something that's painful anyway. We sold $250 worth of these multiple items. We had like these little knob things, and someone bought multiples of them.
20 pairs.
And it was $250. And we were like, this is awesome. And then we looked and we didn't actually have the item.
I had set, I don't know what. I don't know if I counted them individually and then called them pairs, but I was like, I have 34 pairs of these. And I went back in my storage. No, you have 7. What?
Right. So we had to cancel that. So
I had to cancel that order. I said, I told her I have 7. She's like, I need 20.
Right. So
she probably needed them for a kitchen or something.
So that is 2, 5, 6. So that's like almost $700 of money in one day that we lost, or it feels like we lost. But you know what? I will tell you, we had a couple of tense moments, which I think you especially get mad about that stuff, because it's, it's painful, but it is what it is, and you just have to,
It's just one of those things where when you make a sale like that, you're like, oh, that's so helpful. $300 jacket. I'm so excited. Nope.
And then when you see that a message, you're like, but because that's why we always say, when you make a big sale, don't spend that money right away. Yeah. It's not really sold till like a month after it's gone.
It has positive feedback. They can't return it. It's 45 days. That's the only.
And this brings up too. We ship everything. We don't ship it for free, but we accept the, what is it called?
Free returns.
Yeah, that's it.
So I pay for the return label.
So we, here's the deal. When eBay came out with us, we grumbled and we were like, everyone knows I was unhappy about that.
Yeah.
But we're willing to try it if they give us more sales, that kind of thing.
Right.
The good thing is we've not seen a rise in returns.
No.
Because people can return things.
No, not at all, actually.
So that fear was unfounded.
Right.
But we do find that those returns can be painful. I mean, sometimes we can lose up to $20 on a return because, it's got to get packed right or whatever.
Let's just remember this. We put a $1 handling fee on all of our store.
True.
So, to be honest, that is covered.
Right.
It sucks.
But I guess I just wonder, our sales don't seem like they've gotten any better over the past 4 or 5 months since we had this on. And I just wonder, is there even, I guess, other than wanting to be top rated seller plus on the items, is there any reason to have it? It's just, I don't know.
Right.
Okay, things we learned in the forum. A couple things. We just want to do one more thank you to everyone that donated some money to us. We mentioned it on our last podcast.
Oh, the tip jar. Thank you.
Some people gave us some more tips while we were in Manhattan, and it was nice. We used that money, and we had some nice meals. It was a nice Christmas present.
It was really nice.
So you started a new category on the forum.
Right. In the buying and selling section, I made a trading post section where you can say, you're looking for this thing or you're trying to sell this thing. And because I actually had stuff I'm looking for and stuff I'm selling that I would love to sell to fellow scavengers. I always look for IKEA duvets for our rentals. I basically hoard them if I can get them for the right price, because if one gets ruined, you need to grab another one off the shelf. Also, I'm trying to sell one of my old laptops. If anyone wants to go to a Mac, I have a MacBook Pro that's a kick-ass Mac, but I had to get a bigger screen for video editing. So That's on there. And actually, one of the first posts before I posted anything, someone's selling their entire store, like their inventory, because they're like, I can't do this anymore because my full-time job, and I'm moving and whatever. So it was funny that was the first post, was like, and I'm selling my entire eBay store. Yeah. So that's interesting.
It'll be interesting to see if anyone actually uses that. I feel like all scavengers don't want to sell things cheap. Well,
also, I was talking to some scavengers who messaged me off list when they said they had IKEA duvets that they would either trade me or sell me. I said, if there's stuff you're looking for that you think we might find, put it up there. Like, actually, there's a pair of shoes that I'm like, there's a couple different kinds of shoes that I'm always looking for. So I might put those up there too, because if you find them, maybe I'll trade you, or I'll buy them from you, and you don't even have to list them, save you a little bit of time. So I don't know. I thought someone had mentioned it. It was Retro Treasures WV had mentioned it a few months ago to make this, and it took me forever to do it. And finally I was like, yes, I want to make this section. So
cool. It's like a friendly trading
post. Yeah. So
speaking of a retro, he actually posted kind of a rant. And sometimes it's very a justified thing to do.
Right.
He sold a piece of electronics to someone, and in the description it said it was broken.
For parts.
That it didn't work.
Yeah.
The buyer got it, returned it not as described, because he says, I didn't know it was broken.
He's like, I said it.
He talked about how he called eBay, and he talked to like 10 different people, 10 different phone calls. He finally was able to get his money back. So it turned out well, but it's really frustrating for him.
Yeah.
Well, this has happened to us too a while ago. What we learned was, in the title, we always put as is, or 4 parts,
or broken 4 parts
in capitals.
Yeah,
in the title. You can't just put it in the item description.
Right. So honestly, eBay, and so in the item specifics, if it's electronics, it should have a section that says new, used, broken, or for parts, or whatever.
But I don't think even that's not enough.
It's not enough. You should put it in the title for sure. But and like you said, it's almost like people don't see the descriptions anymore. People constantly ask me questions, and I'm like, it's in the description. Oh yeah, you can't see the description anywhere.
On the phone.
On the phone, even sometimes on the computer. Right. I'm like, where is it?
And I know people say they shouldn't have to do it, but that will save you a lot of heartache. And one other scavenger said what they do, if they do sell electronics, when the person buys it, they'll message the buyer and say, I just want to make sure this thing's broken. And they say...
So it'll save you trouble if they're like, oh, I didn't know that, please cancel it.
Even if they don't write back...
You've written that message.
You can ship it anyway. eBay sees you've written it.
That's actually really good.
We really do not sell anything broken unless...
I have, looked to buy iPhones or whatever... And if people don't put 4 parts broken and it's like buried down below, you're like, oh yeah, I can't believe I bought this. And it said like, part of it is broken. It's like, yeah, I've totally done that before,
the thing that always makes me really dig in deep is that if something that is valuable is really cheap, then I'll really dig down and be like, oh yeah, I mentioned way down here that the button doesn't work.
I'm not saying he did that, but I'm saying...
Right.
Even me as a buyer has missed that.
Right.
And so you're like, yeah, it really helps for it to be in the title when you're like scrolling down the page. Because some people do want to buy stuff for parts because they're like, it doesn't matter if it's broken. I just need, this part for it.
Yep. And someone else said, December 5th was like a national holiday because George H.W. Bush was being buried or something.
Right.
So the post office was closed that day. And eBay had sent out something saying that they would deduct that from your shipping time.
Right, because there was a postal holiday.
And it didn't look like that happened. A lot of us one day just got a lot of late things that got shipped, quote unquote, late because of that day. So... the scavenger actually called in, and eBay said everyone had to call individually to get that taken away.
That's crazy.
So again, I don't know if that's true, but if you have things that are late on December 5th, it will show you on your dashboard. You should call. Hopefully eBay is just being really slow.
Sometimes they are.
To get it fixed.
Sometimes I'll see that where it will give me a ding, and I'm like, oh, that day was Christmas, right. And then a couple days later, that's been, so I don't know. That's crazy.
eBay mom. So she has this little hack. So sometimes a buyer will say, I just bought this. Please don't ship till 3 weeks.
It's really annoying.
And that's annoying because eBay doesn't care. They still ding you.
For a late shipment.
Because it's shipped late. It doesn't matter. And you can call and say, look, they just asked me this. And what the eBay people will say is, have them cancel it.
It's so annoying. And then buy it when they're ready.
Or change the handling time on that item after you cancel it. Yeah, anyway, which is a no-go. So what she did, and I wonder if this would work. So on the item that got bought, she goes to actions and she says, unmark as payment it's received.
Right.
So you act like it hasn't been paid yet.
Right.
Then you go to your unpaid item assistant and put that as an exception.
So that they don't get an unpaid item.
Tell the buyer that you did that in case eBay's harassing them to pay.
Right.
And then when the time comes to ship it,
you mark it as paid.
How does that sound?
That sounds highly complicated to me, and I feel like I would just ship the item anyway.
Yeah.
Be like, I'm shipping this.
Really?
It's your problem.
Oh, really?
I've had people
would you do that?
I'm just like,
why not just hold it?
I just think that's annoying. I just think it's super annoying. It's like buying something on Amazon and being like, dear Amazon, please ship this in a month. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
That's fine. I don't know. Maybe I'm just grumpy at people who want special requests from small sellers. I'm just like, ugh, seriously. Or have your mail held. Like, if you're gone for that long, or whatever, you're like, just have your mail held while you're gone.
Well, I can understand it being annoying if they buy it and then they start asking these things. I think it's
what's annoying to me.
I think it's a different story if they haven't bought it yet and they're like, I want to buy this, but I don't want it shipped till this time. I mean, obviously it can be like, well, then buy it at that time. But then the person might say, well, I want to make sure I get it. Like, can you somehow hold it for me?
Right.
So I think it's okay. I mean, again, I guess it just depends who's hungrier.
Yeah.
Are we hungrier?
Right.
I mean, I think if we're not hungry for that sale, then we can just say no.
I'm glad there's a technique to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually super helpful when that comes up.
Okay, on this post, we'll put a link. We now have not a category, a topic where people are sharing their numbers for 2018.
Year-end numbers. Yep. Call it what it is.
Thanks for Troy
Year-end
for doing that. He has it's like a template, and you can fill all those in, your COGS, your total cost.
Doesn't that sound fun, everyone?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
This is the real stuff.
Yeah, it is real.
And if you're interested to see what different, full-time and part-time scavengers, how much money do they actually make on eBay?
There were some very impressive numbers in there for people who are part-time.
And not only, so the interesting thing is to see their total amount, it's gross, but then to see all their expenses
costs,
and see how much they actually made for real. And it's interesting to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In your spare time for fun. Go check it out.
And then the final thing I would like to talk about that we talked about in the forum are kind of just to go over the current experiments that I feel like our community is working on. Different people have suggested them. I think I just want to put them out there and see if anybody else is trying these things. Mm-hmm. The number one experiment that it seems like people are big into, cross-posting to different platforms.
Yep.
There's a group of scavengers that are really big into, they post it on eBay, then they post it on Poshmark, Mercari, whatever, Facebook Marketplace. And I guess my question is, how much more income can you generate on top of what you sell on eBay, selling the same exact inventory?
Right.
That would be, and then how much extra work does it take to make that extra money? So that's the, I think, experiment people are doing. Another experiment people are doing, and this is the one I've talked about, but other people have talked about it too. Being willing to pay more money for items that you think you can sell for a larger profit.
Yeah.
So instead of buying things for $1 and selling them for $30, can you go and buy things for $100 and sell it for $500?
Right.
That's an experiment. And the questions to answers are: can you find these high dollar items consistently, like on a regular basis? And how long does it take for those items to sell? The third experiment is: how much of an eBay store can be done by helpers or people that you pay without quality control going down? Mm-hmm. And how much of your profits are eaten up by paying those people?
Interesting.
I know that there's a lot of scavengers on the forum that have been selling for a long time, and they're trying to get to that point where they can kind of like pay someone else to do the parts that they don't like.
Right.
I know we've done that, like our photos.
Oh, man.
Some people are really into like, I want to automate everything. I want to like pay people to do everything. And I just have to go out and buy stuff and just dump it on the floor and it all gets taken care of. I'm very skeptical of that without having quality control. Like you'd really have to pay someone who is doing that for you.
Right.
But so I'd love to hear people's, experiments, results. Okay, let's go to the questions that people called in about.
Okay, you can call our voicemail number. The number is 540-407-8486, or you can email us an audio file. Our email is thescavengerlife@.
Hey, Jay and Ryan. Just calling to say Merry Christmas and thank you for everything you do with the podcast and the forum. And also to my fellow scavengers out there, if you'd be so kind as to go to scavengerlife.com and click on the tip jar and either sign up as a Patreon subscriber for Scavenger Life or just make a one-time donation. That would be great to help keep this party rolling. And hope everyone has a prosperous 2019. Thanks.
Yeah, happy holidays to you as well. Thanks for kind of telling people what we would normally tell people at the end.
Oh, that's so nice.
We appreciate it.
Happy New Year.
Hi, guys. This is Doug at Squim Salty up in Squim, Washington. First off, thank you for all you do. Things I've learned by listening to the podcast have really made a difference. I don't think this has been mentioned, so I thought I would share it. Today I had an order and promptly shipped it out to the buyer. He was on the East Coast and the shipping was about $54. I shipped it priority mail and dropped it at the post office at noon, and then got an email saying he wants to return it at about 2 o'clock. With the return policy at eBay now is looking over $100 in shipping costs that I would eat. I went to the post office to see if I could grab the package, but it was already on the truck. What they told me will save me some money. I went on USPS.com and typed in the tracking number. The site said that the package was eligible for an intercept. Because it was priority mail and I was intercepting it and returning it to my home rather than redirecting it to another address, my cost to get it back will be just $13. I don't think I can recoup the original shipping, but I will be saving almost $40 and some time by doing this. Not sure if this option had been mentioned before, and thanks again for all the time you put into the podcast. Really love it. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks, guys.
Yes, I have heard that before, that you can intercept a package. I would have to look on USPS.com, but it sounds like what you were saying, that it can only be priority or probably like express. Something paid a little bit higher, not parcel. You might be able to do it with parcel, but yeah, you do have to pay, I think, at least $13. So it's got to be worth it. Like this sounds like this is worth it for him to get it to his nearest.
Because it's $50.
Yeah, it'll go to his nearest distribution center and then get sent back to him.
See, that is an interesting example. I guess back in the old days when a lot of us didn't cover the return shipping, we would have just allowed it to get shipped and then make the buyer
ship it back because they didn't want
or deny it.
There's nothing wrong with it. Right. Clearly, he didn't even get it yet.
Right. And then because they already told you they wanted to cancel it, then they can't say there's anything wrong because they wanted to cancel before they saw it. So.
Right. Yeah, no, that can be used.
But that's a good example of, maybe the free returns needs to be done on just items that aren't as expensive. Like, don't put it on items that are $50 to ship.
To ship, yeah. I mean, the thing that stinks when something's $50 to ship, you're like, that was probably a heavy, big-ish item, possibly delicate, so it kind of sucks that the person's like, oh, by the way, I don't want this anymore. I see you already shipped it.
Well, just keep the box already packed.
Right, exactly.
Can you take free returns off individual items, or is it just store-wide?
No, I think you can. If you have business policies turned on, you just need a separate policy, and you need to go in and change those items. So, I think you can do that.
Cool. Thanks for the call.
Okay, that was it.
That's it?
Yeah, because the other ones were just like, hi, I'm locked out of the forum. Yeah. Okay, cool. The first one was from before Christmas. So. Okay. I think it's probably because we haven't been taking questions, so people don't call in. Okay, that is it for the podcast this week. You can check out our blog at scavengerlife.com to join the conversation on the forum. You can leave a question or a comment on our voicemail line. Again, that phone number is 540-407-8486, or you can email us an audio file. Our email is thescavengerlife@gmail.com. We post an episode every Monday morning. On Wednesday, we post a What Sells video, currently being brought to you by Steven Schultz. You can subscribe to our Patreon account and help support us for as little as $5 a month. You can subscribe for free through iTunes or YouTube, so you always get the latest episode. You can also buy our entire archive of 5 years of podcasts that you can download all at once. It's almost 400 episodes. Someone just bought one the other day, and I made sure it was completely updated, so everything's updated there. And that link is on our sidebar. We are ending this podcast in 3, 2, 1. Bye.